before you started working with Melt, what was holding you back from building, and then what were some blockers from technical, financial, or strategic perspective?
So before we started working with Melt, we had, kind of a half-baked proof of concept, and there were a few features that we felt strongly that we needed to implement before we could really push and bring this to the consumers, get users on the platform. And it was kind of when we were at this place where unless we were able to get users, we weren't able to go get capital and things like that. So it was really this kind of, we were just really stuck. And we got introduced with IP and Melt Studio, and they were able to implement these features for us, which then by the end of it was we were able to drop that in the app store and actually have something that our first users could start playing with right away.
Yeah, and what were you playing with before, like in terms of what tools or what stage were you able to bring the product to yourself before this program?
Yeah, we've been bootstrapped to date. We are a small team. I do have, a couple of technical guys on the team, but we just really needed more manpower, more people, get, actually writing the code, have their hands in GitHub, actually, in the tech leads. So it really allowed us, our tech team was able to go to them and say, these are the things we need. It was nice because we were very specific on what we needed. We were really clear on that. And Melt got understood it right away, and they were able just to dive in. We had a lot of hands, which really helped it to move fast. So it would have taken us so much longer to do it in-house. I mean, months and months and months. What the Melt guys were able to do in a few short weeks.
And like what was the, I guess that's the great point in terms of the timeline, because I know a big part of what Melt does is move faster and be able to go from point A to point B, so that especially with founders and being able to build things from at an early stage, like you want to be able to get something out of the market, right? And how do you think that affected your potential relationships with customers or people that you were talking to that might want to use the product?
Well, we were able to, as we were working with Melt, we were at the, kind of the end stage of the project. Things were going really well, and we are like, hey, we're going to be able to show this to a large audience at South by Southwest. So we worked closely with them. They kind of kicked it into high gear. They're like, what exactly do you want to show? What do you need from us? And we were able to move really quickly so that we could have a demo ready in a short amount of time to show people, get people to download it, get their feedback right away, and just be able to show them the first iteration of the app. And so that was really cool. And even that day, as South by Southwest is crazy and there's connection issues and whatnot, I was able to hop on with Melt and troubleshoot, and we were able to really demo something really positive that I think a lot of people were really interested in.
Them. And during the process, so I'm curious to know what changed, like from what you initially thought you were going to build or what you maybe assumed with the product and the needs versus like throughout the process, like how was Mel able to support you? And, Mel has obviously a lot of experience with other startups. So were there any insights that you gained in that process?
It was pretty straightforward. Everything they recommended, like as far as what to run, certain things off of or where to store things, we were all pretty aligned from the get-go. There were a couple of features that came up that I think we all did a really good job of recognizing that, okay, here's four features and we'd love to have all of them, but what are the two or three most important? So that when, we had a snag or something was taking longer or something proved to be much more difficult to implement because of maybe something we had set up in the past or, for whatever reason, we were able to just like stay on task because we knew exactly what the priorities were and what the goals were. So it was nice to have like, these are the have to things and these are the things that like if we get to, that would be great. But like, here's what we have to get this to the consumer.
That makes sense. And it's that's always the biggest struggle with like what's like a nice to have and what's a must as well. Moving from, you know, in terms of the communication, the speed, quality, like what is something that you appreciated the most in this process with Mel?
Response time on Slack is very, very quickly, even on weekends, even after hours, very quick. We work really well. We work with, a couple dive shops, and obviously working now with Melt. The one thing I think we did really well was our weekly sync. So we would sync up on a Monday. We'd have like everybody would hop on, any questions, any clarifying, anything, we could discuss in this hour. It was just on the calendar. We didn't have to scramble to book the appointment. And then we would, on that call, we would usually block off like 15, 20 minutes on a Thursday or Friday at the end of the week, just in case we had questions, in case, as I started to build for that week, something came up or they needed more clarification or we needed to troubleshoot. We had that time blocked. Most of the time we didn't need it and we could communicate on Slack like, hey, everything looks good. I'm going to cancel this meeting on Thursday or Friday. Have a great weekend. But it was nice to have those placeholders and those meetings already set up so that we were all on the same page and we weren't spending days and days just trying to get everybody,
Definitely. And what is like now moving forward to like post, product or process, like where are you at now and what are you looking back? Maybe things that you were happy you had done, or maybe things that you were happy you had built through this process with Melt. And yeah, and I'm curious what your experience with like customers or maybe now fundraising or potential fundraising.
This has really given us like a full, we had little bits of our prototype, and this has really completed the whole prototype. Obviously, there's more things we could build and build and build, but this is working with Melt has enabled us to have something that we could drop in a mobile app and get users on. And so we just completed a couple weeks ago, demoed at South by, brought on our first 100 users, and we're beta testing it with them. Melt has, been on standby for anything that comes up, and we're going to really start pushing out this first version of our app this week or next week. So, we've got some waitlist people signed up and some people that have been with us for a while ready to try it out. And we're excited to get more people on the platform and just continue to get feedback. And that's really going to guide us in what we build next. So we feel very strongly that we're giving them great looking glass experience. They got the full gist of the app. Obviously it's not this is an early stage, so it doesn't have all of the bells and whistles, but it gives them exactly what we're trying to accomplish, which is making getting dressed easier every day. So we've got the scanning closet feature implemented. Melt helped us develop the daily notification. So it'll tell you what to wear every morning, and you get to decide what time you want that notification. If you want that notification to come text message, email, push notification through the app. And it will tell you based off the clothes you've uploaded what you should wear that day. Added in some APIs, so when it gives you that recommendation, it does consider your weather, location, and calendar events. And yeah, I've been playing with it now for a few weeks, and it's working really well, and I'm just very happy with it. And I can't wait to get more people on and get some real users.
No, it's exciting. And what's your like business model and things as you're moving forward? Like where do you think you're going to take it from here in terms of like paid customers and the next step of your process?
We do have some different tiers of membership that we're working on. So we'll have a VIP membership and a premium membership. Um, this version we're putting out into the world as a freemium, and we're kind of going to play with how we structure that. If we want to leave it free for a year, for 6 months, or if we want to determine it based on how much closet usage each customer is using. So it does cost to have everybody upload their closet. We have to store all that stuff. So perhaps we'll look at something like where your first items are free, and then after that to continue using it, it's just a small incremental jump. But that's still something we're excited to play with as we bring people on. But for sure, for the first 6 months, we're going to keep it free and just let people use it, and just gather all the data we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe what are some next things that you're hoping to like build into this, maybe for some just user feedback, like how you want to turn some of those users to paid customers, perhaps?
We've got a good marketing team, and we've got survey loops and feedback questionnaires and things already teed up. And we've kind of been doing that, along the way with this business, which is why we feel so strongly about what we built with Melt is because we were hearing this from our customers. So, we took all that and we're like, Melt, we need this, we need these features. This is what we need for our customers to use it. So, we definitely will have a lot of opportunities for feedback to gather data from our clients. And I'm just really excited to see how people use it, when they use it, when they're finding. We have all these hypotheses, right? Like, oh, people will use it to get dressed for work. But I think we'd be surprised to see how many people perhaps use it on the weekends when they're going out for an event or going out for a dinner. So it'll just be really fun to get some of those insights.
Like another question I had, why would you recommend this program and sort of the experience you've gone through? Why would you recommend that for another founder or someone else joining Melt?
I think there's a lot of different answers I could give here. So I'll try to kind of be brief and concise, but they've done a really good job of building something that we can actually use instead of just building. I think sometimes with dev companies, you tell them, okay, we want this feature. So they build it, but they're not necessarily thinking like, well, is that going to connect to what you already have? And so they've done a really good job of taking the time to look and see what we had, what we came to them with, what we wanted to build. They took a week or two to just figure out the best ways to build that so that we could, from the get-go, as soon as it was done, we could lay it on top and everything would work together seamlessly. So, you can get somebody to build a feature here, a feature there, but I think they did a really, really great job of understanding our goals and like what we needed to do to get consumers on our platform. And then they took a really deep dive of what we already had to make sure that what they were building was actually going to, stand up and work with what we had. That, and they also, I think, have done a really good job of just the kickoff calls and the exit level calls. Like, here were our goals. These are the things we did. Here's what we accomplished. Here's what we would, here's some improvements we could make for the next phase. And just the whole process was really clear. And I think the communication, again, to your point, when you've got dev companies and other time zones, or, it's night for them, it's day for you, that gets really tricky. But the communication and the response time on Slack was top. We were able to move really quickly.